All right, guys.
Yo.
Welcome back to another episode of the Two Track Mind podcast.
We are trackside.
Special episode for you guys today. So we're a little late on the episode this week. That's because it was a long weekend up here in Canada. For those that don't know, that we actually record north of the border. But last year we did a special episode with, if you actually remember, it was me, you, Patrick.
Yeah, over at my place.
Yeah, we did an episode about the current state of time attack in 2024. And I thought it would actually be a good time for us to revisit that topic. Maybe broaden it a little bit to just track cars in general for 2025 and what has changed over the past, I don't know, half year now, right? Because that was like, what was that, in the summer that we were kind of talking about it?
Yeah, but even then, I feel like things are changing quickly all the time.
It's been a crazy year so far.
Our local track scene has completely changed. I don't know.
Yeah, and to just kind of refresh everyone, right? Like I've got a couple of notes. Actually, where are we today?
We are at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park Grand Prix track.
Yeah.
See, I get it right, Patrick. We are at, it's a former F1 track, and it boasts the highest average speed of any track in North America. So high speed, the walls are close. People say this track is most relatable to, like, I think, what's the high speed track? Road Atlanta?
Sort of like a road Atlanta.
Yeah, sort of vibes, you know?
Yeah,
fast,
big elevation
walls close,
change.
Big elevation change, high
Yeah.
speed, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I promise we're there. Because, well, all you see is the trailer because it's actually kind of windy out today, which is kind of weird for this time of year. And it looks like it's probably going to rain at any minute now. So
Yeah.
we decided just to record kind of here. It would have been nice to have, like, you know, turn 2 or turn 4 behind us.
Yeah, but instead we're in a trailer.
All right, so recap what we talked about last year, okay? We talked about speed creep, how, you know, the typical track car was getting faster and faster because things that were coming off the factory floor were just becoming more and more capable, right?
Yeah.
I think we were kind of saying, you know, anyone could go get a Mark V Supra, F87, M2,
G87, G82, yeah.
And, you know, your car of the year last year, you said, was the Camaro SS 1LE, another high power car right off the factory floor, right?
Yep, ready to go.
Yeah, they were, on average, cars are getting heavier. They were getting more expensive. And I kind of made the remark that a lot of these cars were fast on the lap times, but a lot of them were also kind of just like one lap wonders, right? Because they couldn't manage tires as well.
Just a little bit too heavy.
Yeah. So with that in mind, how do you feel about this year so far? Like, what's changed, if anything?
I mean, Porsche GT3 RSs, I feel like I've seen them everywhere now.
There's literally 3 or 4 or 5 GT3s right beside us.
Yeah, right beside. There's also a Wyra R, okay, and
this is
2
not-
Lamborghini Evo 2s.
This is not a typical tractor. This is not a
Yes,
typical
we're at some
tractor.
private, crazy rich Asian, like crazy, super private event, and we don't really belong, but we're trying to blend in. We're kind of hiding in the trailer right now. They haven't noticed that we're here yet, but
Just here to eat their food.
yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I think the natural progression of every OEM is such that the car that they make, the new car, needs to be better than the last one.
Yeah.
They just got to keep getting better and better and better. More power. Yes, the cars are getting heavier, but yeah, again, like I said, they're adding more power or some sort of high-tech wizardry, whether it's like fancy differentials or traction control systems that are scalable, or so on and so forth. So it just makes the level of performance so accessible to the regular person, when I think like the BMW 10-stage traction control is like former, maybe 10 years ago, motorsport grade, right?
Yeah.
So it's just getting crazier and crazier, and companies that are providing aftermarket support for these cars are just taking them like to astronomical levels. Like, it's crazy the performance levels that's available to the regular person.
Yeah. So on the topic of just like cars in general that are track ready, I think last year we were kind of seeing like the G87 as the one that's gonna be like, oh, this is like the next coming of that great track car. It's a little heavy, but maybe the aftermarket will make it work.
Yeah.
What we've kind of seen in a few short months is that the market has kind of softened on the G87, and now the G80s and the G82s have kind of come to front and center. And I think this is just a realization that with the amount of power, and if you're going to take that weight penalty anyway, something with a longer wheelbase and then the option of all-wheel drive,
Yeah.
right, to put down more grip,
Yeah.
more tire that's, your drive tires and not overheat the rears. Yeah, that's kind of what we've seen, like a lot of shops and a lot of private drivers kind of make that switch.
Yeah, like for us, we've moved from the G87 to the G82 M4 all-wheel drive, and we're just kind of blown away at how still the front end is not terrible, because we had expected that, hey, yeah, we're going to trade some understeer on entry for just mid-corner and exit traction, but the front end is not bad. Like the car is full weight, a little bit of aero, stock power, and it's already faster than the G87 ever was.
Yeah.
So we're gonna continue to develop the car, lighten it up. It has sofas in it, right? Lighten it up 200-300 pounds and 800 horsepower easy, which is crazy. See what it does.
Yeah, and our friend Brandon from Revo Sport is here today with a G80.
That's right.
How much power did he make on his latest tune?
Just shy of 800. No ethanol.
Does he have all-wheel drive in that car?
He has all-wheel drive in that car.
Just shy of 800 horsepower.
And it's a 4-door daily.
That's crazy, right?
Full interior, full weight, and he's ripping around here.
Just like no turbo upgrades or anything.
Nope. Doesn't
Just
need
the
any
tune.
turbo up, just a tune. We'll
crazy.
breather mods in a tune.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I mean,
exhaust.
at some point, we're going to get close to like 1,000 wheel horsepower with the tune off the factory floor.
Splash of ethanol,
Yeah.
or you change out the turbos. Absolutely.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So that's kind of things on the cars side. I think, last year BMW is what we were kind of saying, like, okay, there's some like really good stuff coming out there. Like if you got some money lying around, it's not like out of reach money, but it's still extremely expensive.
Yeah.
Seems like that's still kind of the trend in terms of like what you would get from factory.
Yeah.
Like what else would you be looking at right now if you're trying to get a extremely performant track car that you can just show up and drive in, other than the G80, G82, G87? What else is on your list?
So here's the thing. Our good friends Sean, Tim, and Jim, who you may have seen on our channels, they have sold their cars, and they're just...
What were their cars? What did they sell?
Jim has sold his M2 competition build,
Yeah,
and he's
F87.
getting a G82.
Okay.
Sean drove it, and he is contemplating getting rid of his TTRS that he spent a lot of time and energy building to get a G82. Tim, our good friend, was looking at selling a bunch of stuff, maybe getting a Cayman T. Okay. He's on this G82 fever as well. It's just the car is such a good daily. It's so comfortable. And on track, it's an absolute animal. The thing is, we do complain it is a little bit numb, like the steering for sure is super numb. But the raw performance and let's call it the livability of the car is like, you don't sacrifice any of it, and you still have this level of crazy performance.
Yep.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know if we're talking one car solution. Right. Most people do have one car. If we're talking one car solution, you can't beat it, man.
Hard to.
4-5 people in there. Like the G82 has the automatic tailgate, like the rear lifts up. They all come with that now. It's super heavy. You click a button, it opens up, closes.
It's all the stuff that people are going to remove.
As the sofa seats or the carbon buckets. But yeah, I think people are waking up to, on paper, it doesn't seem like it's anything special. 3,900 pounds, right? But somehow, some way, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
I will say the all-wheel drive model does retain some of that BMW DNA in the sense that it doesn't feel like a front drive, like a TTRS is more of a front-wheel drive based all-wheel drive system, right? This one is definitely an all-wheel drive based system. You really feel like you can steer with the right foot, but at the same time, you just have the front wheels helping you with exit traction. It's an amazing feeling. And there's a button to click, boom, you're in rear-wheel drive mode.
Yep. Yeah.
Crazy car.
Yeah. So in summary, for better or for worse, I know you're a hardcore BMW guy. I'm like, BMW's like, all right, I'm still into my Japanese cars. Okay, I'm all about the JDM cars, but I think, yeah, if you're let's say around the, $50,000 to $100,000 range budget for like a used car or closer to new, maybe second owner, I think like BMW is kind of like where it's at if you want something that's pretty track focused.
Porsche has taken over the market above that, so like in the 150,000 plus range, right? And And then I think under that is definitely BMW, and then we'll throw the Supra into there as well. Under that, I think we're looking at things like the BRZ GR86,
Gen 2.
Gen 2s. I think those sort of cars have dominated
The tier
market.
list.
The
tier list. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like things are different when you go to a two car solution.
Yeah.
Or if you're like one car solution, right? Maybe
Yeah.
Golf R or a GTI one car solution,
Yeah.
right?
So what's the tier list? We probably say like what, like first gen FRS is kind of like your entry, like
Yeah.
that's your best
Yeah,
value.
if you're like 12 to $15,000 Canadian,
Yep.
Gen 1 BRZ, right?
Then above that is like Gen 2.
Gen 2,
basically,
yeah.
right? Above that would be like an F series.
Yeah,
M2
used
maybe?
so first gen F87 is like you can get them in like the 40s.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right?
Right.
In the 40s, right?
Yeah, and then
N55 engine, right?
yeah.
Above that is like
you
you
get
go
those G
Supra
series,
or you
Supra
go
G series.
F87 M2 competition.
Uh-huh.
And then we go G series.
Yeah.
And then a Gap.
Big gap.
Gap.
And then GT.
Some
GT
Porsches,
cars.
some Porsches here and there, right?
Yeah.
Maybe some Caymans, and then you get to the GT cars. So
Yeah, I agree with that. That's kind of like the lay of the
Yeah.
land right now. Though I know there's like some really exciting stuff coming on the horizon that we'll probably talk about in future episodes with, we've kind of remarked on this before about like Toyota promising a whole bunch of new cars and
Yeah.
some new information starting to come out about the Celica and about the MR2 and whatever. So we'll talk about that in the future. So we're talking about a lot of like these expensive cars. We, touched on like how you would progress through, like if you had a smaller budget, but what does it really mean for the, grassroots DIY track day enthusiasts, right? Like what's kind of been happening over the past couple of years. So a couple of trends that I've kind of noticed, case swaps are starting to have more appeal for like someone who might want to do it at home by themselves or work with their garage that the shop that they're familiar with, because there are now kits that are pretty well sorted and tried out. Right. So K-Power, originally known for their Miata swaps, the 86 swap it's been a couple of years since that's been out now, and I think like they've been trying to make these kits more and more consumer friendly. So like for example, like they made a notch subframe for the 86 so that you can use the OEM oil pump from a K24 A2, because we know with the Type S pump, you'll get better oil pressure, but it's going to rattle the car. And so for if you want a daily or even as like an enduro car, that just makes it a little bit more livable. Right?
Yeah.
The Miata swaps, because they share similar front end architecture as the RX, like the RX-8, you can use the subframe that they built to do an RX-8 K-swap or something like that, right? And so I think like a lot of the things that people traditionally had to do a lot of R&D by themselves are now becoming like people have blazed that path, and individuals are becoming more comfortable in doing that kind of swaps themselves. Now, who knows what that's going to do to the supply of K24s? I know like the K24 A2s are already probably starting to thin out a little bit.
Yeah.
Personally, I went with the K24 Z7, as we say up here in Canada. But that was not a high volume car or engine variant, right? Like it came in the SI and maybe like the CSX or something like that. I don't know. So that's happening. And the other thing that's happening around the same time is that transmission swaps are also becoming more popular. So DCT swaps, CAN TCU is probably one of the leaders in that space right now in terms of, again, making something that is more approachable for people. You don't have to do any like extreme rewiring of mechatronics or anything like that. But I think to bridge the divide between someone who's maybe had a track car for a long time and wants to keep developing that chassis versus someone who goes to the BMW dealership, how do you keep pace? Well, you stuff BMW parts into your old car.
That's what you're doing, buddy.
That's what I'm doing. But I think that's kind of where the two sides are starting to kind of converge in the middle of performance, is that new technology is now becoming accessible to older cars for you to stuff into, right? So if you're going standalone, you get this DCT transmission, so you're like firing super fast on your shifts. Plus now you're on standalone, you can have a trick traction control with where you can actually
Scale or dial back.
scale
yeah.
up and scale it down, many different settings. And
Yeah,
so
boost by RPM,
right.
all those things. So
you can
many
actually
things.
make use of the
exactly.
boost by gear. And so yeah, a lot of that cool stuff is becoming more accessible. It's not just like a few shops in the world that know how to tune for that or install
Yeah.
something like that for you.
Yeah.
So that's really cool to see. The other trend that I'm starting to see is there are more niche aero companies and aftermarket body part companies coming out, and a lot of that is due to the fact that consumer and prosumer 3D scanning and 3D printing and making prototypes and then sending off your CAD designs to be manufactured overseas or even in country is becoming a lot more accessible, right? Again, we talk about our friend Brandon with Revo Sport with their aero kit. People who watch Misha's content, Misha Sharudin, like he started Vulcan Alpha. They're doing aero parts. I've been seeing these TikTok reels of these like companies in China where they have these industrial size 3D printers, which is basically like really thick extrusion nozzles with like extruded aluminum frames, and they're printing out full size bumpers. Like I saw like a G80, G82 bumper just being printed out, right?
That's
Obviously,
crazy.
It's not going to be that rigid, and maybe you use like carbon fiber filaments or something like that. But I don't need that race car part to be perfect. Like if I damage something, I can just print off another one in like a day or two, or like make my own designs, and I can integrate like the canards, the cooling.
Yeah, you were telling me about like tabletop CNC machines, right? Like
exactly. Like back when I first got my 86, one of the most popular, like just kind of like personalizing your car parts was like this little like key tray number plate thing that you can buy from like I can't remember, like YoSpeed I think it was, that they're making these, and something like that you could just make at home now. You buy some aluminum block sorry, and then you can just CNC that literally on your tabletop. Like I think
it's crazy.
Yeah, that's always like Makera.
Yeah,
is the brand that's like that has a easy to use. Like they did again with the 3D printer that I have from Bamboo Labs. Like the reason why people like it is just like you literally set it up, you let it run its like calibration, and it's good to go, right? So I think we're gonna see a lot more DIY parts that are starting to bridge the gap between what is something that is like from a niche specialized manufacturer versus just someone just designing it at home, right? Obviously low run stuff, but I think we're just going to see a lot more creativity coming from not from the manufacturer side, just from the grassroots, from people who are making their own parts.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Last thing I kind of mentioned on trends, obviously the uncertainty around tariffs is still looming large. Manufacturers are starting to raise their prices. Some companies are waiting for things to chill out before they even import a whole bunch of inventory that they have. I think we are even starting to see in the local scene, just from like, this kind of trickling through the rest of the economy, that like participation signups for Time Attack, I feel like are a little bit suppressed this year. In Ontario. So like CSCS, I know they just like last weekend, I think, opened up registrations for open lapping during competition day. Yeah. I think OTA feels like it may be a little bit suppressed this year as well in terms of signups. Not sure how much that has to do with, like
the economy,
tariffs, like prices are also going up for track days as well.
Yeah,
right? Like
insurance costs, everything.
Yeah, the driver fees, right, are higher now as well, right? So, it'll kind of be interesting to see how things shake out. Like I'm personally, like looking at all the topics that we just covered here, like the things that I'm most excited about is like, what are people going to be building at home? Now that they have all these tools. Like the way that I've been thinking about like how I want to participate in this space is I'm really itching to just get myself a 3D scanner. And it's just like whoever rolls through the shop, right? I'll just scan the car and see like, hey, like what kind of parts are kind of in demand.
Make some canards, make some NACA ducts,
exactly.
Make some this,
you don't have to print them; just make the files.
Yeah,
that's the nice thing is like people are going to be buying these printers at home. You don't have to deal with inventory and doing the printing yourself. You can just demonstrate proof of concept. Hey, this is the product that we made. Make a video about it. Share that and say if you want to get this design, you can pick it up here.
Yeah, and I mean, like you've done that with your engine balance jig thing.
Yeah.
3D printed, it works amazing. It's just, I mean, you put a lot of time and energy into that, of course.
Yeah.
You're not a professional in that space, but
Nope.
you learned all of that, right? And it works, and it works really, really well, and it's a very cost-effective solution compared to the, I don't know how much the other.
It's like $400
Yeah,
Canadian,
$400
$460 or something
Canadian
like that
versus
to get
like
the
a
metal one.
fraction of the cost. Of course, your time and energy spent.
Yeah.
But it's doable, and you're learning more and more about it as an enthusiast, which is absolutely crazy, right?
Yeah. What else have you kind of noticed? Like, I know you've probably done already a couple of track days this year. Does it just feel like a continuation of last year in terms of like how people are approaching the track scene? Do you notice that like people are more fixated around improving lap times, or is there more of like a return to like, oh, let's just have fun? These cars are getting too fast, ridiculous. There's no point in timing anymore. Let's just go have a good time, when you're on track.
Yeah, I think it's a bit discouraging for some of the time attack people, and I can kind of relate to it because my F87's kind of getting older.
Which is
It's not
crazy.
really.
Which is crazy in my mind to think about that, because like
Yeah.
I was complaining about how ridiculously fast those were.
Yeah, it's
just last year, right?
My F87's 5 years old now, which
Yeah.
is time kind of flies by,
5 years
and
is
the
nothing.
new stuff like is just blowing by me. And my car has a lot of modifications. I've done a lot of work in it, but just the new stuff just makes more power. The front ends are better, and they fit more tire. So it's like, at this point, do I fully strip it out, lighten it, carbon doors? Special diff in it.
Yeah.
All these things. Do I do that just
What's
to
up?
keep up
Oh, good.
with the
Do your thing, do your
just
thing.
to keep up with the new stuff, or do I just get rid of it and buy something new, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
And I can imagine like how the like E92 guys feel with their like V8s. They're like the slow in a straight line compared to like F87. And you go
that's-
back again.
That's when you
E46s,
start
those
picking up
things
that
are
classic
super
car
slow.
plates.
Exactly.
They just go to Cars and Coffee.
Yeah, so I mean, like the speed creep is real. You have to put a lot more money in these older cars to even keep up, and I can see the frustration in some time attack people that
Yeah.
like, have invested a lot in their cars and just like are just being outgunned by the new stuff.
Yeah. I think there's just gonna comes a time like with every car where it just doesn't make sense to try and push to keep that vehicle competitive.
Yeah.
Because you're just gonna start doing things where you're gonna increasingly become one of one in doing that, and the thing, like, yes, it's gonna be very unique, and yes, I think you get a lot of scene points when you show up and everyone's like, wow, like I can't believe this car can do that,
Yeah.
right? But I think increasingly it's going to become more and more complicated for you to operate that car, to maintain it,
Tow it.
tow it. The element of like safety becomes, again, when you're one of one, like no one else is out there testing what you might be doing to your vehicle other than you, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's an interesting time, and I think there's gonna be hopefully a bit more of a push on like how do you just enjoy being out there, being on track, enjoying that opportunity to go lapping and not worry too much about the times, because it's starting to get to a point where I think it's going to be really frustrating for, like, as you said, like people who have kind of been in the scene for a long time. They're used to
Absolutely.
being some of the fastest drivers out there, really ripping those laps, and now there are people who have very short racing resumes who are going to put down blazing times. And again, like what we talked about last year, part of that is going to be because of simulation, right? People are able to get comfortable with 60-70% of what it feels like to be on track.
Yeah. Just getting reps in. Yeah.
Yeah, through sim, and then they're able to just come out and put down some pretty fast laps, right? In controlled situations. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to keep up, I'm going to have to maybe do turbos, cut a little bit, run some wider tires,
Yeah.
start cutting metal out.
Lose some weight.
Right, and then start running different fuel like ethanol and stuff like that. Then it gets like just
Yeah.
too crazy, right?
Yeah.
But then the G82 could just show up comfortably in its sofa seats and go home afterwards, like crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. What are your predictions through 2025?
What do you mean?
Any
What's
hot
up?
takes?
Hot takes?
Yeah. By the end of the year, what are we gonna see?
I don't know, man. I don't. Well, okay. My hot take is Revo Sport's gonna just be kicking ass. Jackie Ding is
What a
already
shill.
Jackie Ding is already the fastest non-Corvette when he went to I think Super Lap Battle.
Okay.
So, I mean, he's just gonna keep developing that car. And Revo Sport is a fairly Revo Sport race at least is a fairly new. I guess avenue that they're exploring, and they have some of the best guys working on it, you know, and like as you said, like 3D scanning, and they have like CFD programs that are just like amazing now, right? And so they're like just pumping out all this amazing product, and I think as they continue to refine, as more of these kits get into the hands of good drivers, I think it's gonna take BMW to the next level. So it's
Yeah.
gonna be crazy, right?
Yeah. What so I haven't been following too closely on this, but what have you been hearing about tires and tire compounds for 2025?
I mean, I haven't tried it, but the Track Attack Pro.
That's what it's called. The
I think it's called Track Attack Pro. I
What
think.
company makes that?
I don't know, man. It's I forget.
That's just literally called Track Attack.
Yeah, it's like the supposedly the craziest new 200 treadwear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Meaningless numbers.
Yeah, but then also some of the Chinese tires, like the Rydans, whatever they call them, like they have many compounds, but those are supposedly very, very fast as well. Because you don't remember Nankang is a Chinese brand, right? Everyone's
Yeah,
like Nankang. That used to be a very cheap brand. And they came
Yeah,
out with the AR ones were good, but then they came out with the
CRS
one.
put them on the map.
CR1 was already put
there
on
is-
the map.
so
and
here's
the
the thing.
CRS just
Here's the thing.
what the heck?
The performance tire market is an interesting one because there is literally zero brand loyalty. Okay, it's like literally whatever tire is the fastest for that year that's available. That's what's gonna win.
People jump, right?
That's what's gonna win.
yeah.
so-
people love AO52. That's also a really fast one. But the Nankang CRS was just.
What about the Hoosiers? Have you driven those?
Oh, I think Hoosier is Track Attack Pro. Wait, Track Attack. I'm looking it up right now. Track Attack Pro. Hoosier. Track Attack Pro.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
that's the one that.
Yeah,
I'm talking
that
about.
random, tire
Yeah.
company from Indiana that no one's ever
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
of.
But yeah, I'm interested in trying that tire as well. But
Yeah. That's
the
gonna be
reason why
extremely expensive. up here in
RE71
Canada.
RS crazy too, right? It's just cheater tire versus cheater tire versus cheater tire, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll
Crazy.
see who cheats the most.
That's right.
All right. Anyway, nice and short one for you guys today. It's pretty chilly. Didn't want to leave our regular listeners hanging and
Yeah.
not have a week yet, but yeah, hopefully this was somewhat insightful. I think the summary is basically BMW continues to do really well in the mid upper tier. I think the grassroots stuff, JDM cars, like older vehicles, you're going to start closing the gap if you're adventurous enough to try and bring some new tech from other cars and retrofit them into
Yeah.
your newer ones. And the DIY scene is just going to take off like crazy, I think, over the next year, next couple of years. You're
Yep.
just going to be seeing increasingly more adventurous things being done at a home garage, right? Right now, we're already at like body panel, body parts, aero parts, simple PCBs, some CNCing. Who knows what we're gonna see next? Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, and then that upper level Porsche.
Yeah,
And
Still a
above
little
that-
hard to touch. Porsche's I feel like has a bit of an identity problem now. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Like are my kids gonna grow up looking at the 911 being like, hey, like that's the Halo car that I dream of owning one day? I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? All right. Well, we'll end it there, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
See you guys.
Take care.